Yes, sir. You already know what time it is. Time for Sports Talk with Naj, where we keep it real and authentic. Break down football, basketball, and soccer. So, hey, man, stay tuned, follow us on the socials, and make sure you tell a friend. Yes, sir. We'll see you on the other side.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Naj. I am Naj, your host. Appreciate you tuning in today. As you can see, we are live today in the studio. This is my own home-built studio. We're going to add some more posters pretty here soon. Got Patrick Mahomes, got Damian Lillard over Paul George for the series ender, and of course, you got the little small fat head of the Bengals. And what made me start liking the Bengals? Of course, Chad Johnson. But yeah, man, without further ado, a lot to discuss today. So many news. First, man, we're gonna start with the top three secondaries or top three DB rooms in college football. I got this from David Kopp from CBS Sports. He definitely helped me do this list, but I had to say top three. For me, I'm gonna go with Georgia. Well, I say Georgia, they're ranked right now 13th nationally in passing defense last season. They allowed just 191 yards per game through the air. They were especially impressive since, opponents were airing the ball a lot against them. The running attack was definitely very difficult, but they were led by elite cornerback Keely Ringo. So keep your eye on that name, Keely Ringo. Definitely should have a great season come next year. He's already been projected as a top 4 pick early in the 2023 NFL draft by CBS Sports draft expert Ryan Wilson. Another team that you got to keep your eye on for the top three is actually going to be Texas A&M. Texas A&M had fewer 5-star prospects in the secondary than the SEC peers in Georgia, but they allowed just 192.7 yards per game. They have top prospects in Jordan Gilbert or Bryce Anderson, who were former 4-star prospects, and they're going to have to step in for Leon O'Neal, who actually graduated last year. And I think this is going to be an improved secondary. Of course, they have a tough schedule in the SEC. Probably will play Alabama. We know what that rivalry has going on right now, and especially with the animosity between both head coaches Jimbo Fisher and Nick Saban. But definitely got to be excited. And last but not least, got to throw Iowa in there. They led the nation last year with 25 interceptions last season. Had a really great start to the season. I think they were like 6-0 before having some defeats. They're going to bring back All-American cornerback Riley Moss to go with Jamal Harris and Kayvon Merriweather. So they're going to hold down the key roles from 2021. I definitely think this is a group that can be stingy and great again next year. And a wild card to throw in there is, of course, you got to keep in mind the freshmen. Freshmen always have, or at least always one freshman in the NCAA that has a big season. And I think this year it'll be Xavier Noampaka. He's their highest rated defensive commitment from the 247 Sports era. So these are some secondaries you got to keep your eyes on. Again, thanks to 247 Sports and CBS Sports for this info as I use it for mine. And thank you for David Cobb for allowing me to use his list, and the top three, defensive backfields for next season. Now, we got to get to the nitty gritty. So we had Chase Claypool proclaim himself as a top 3 receiver in the NFL. Now, I definitely don't agree with this. I don't even think he's the top receiver on his team. Now, let's go through the stats. Got this from ESPN.com. 59 catches on 105 targets last season. Was tied 53rd with 59 catches. He had 860 yards receiving. That was 35th in the league. And he had 2 touchdowns that was tied 91st in the league. Now, let's compare this to Deontay Johnson, who's also on his team. A lot shorter, sleeker kind of build. Again, Chase Claypool is 6'3". Deontay Johnson is 5'10". Now, let's compare the numbers. Deontay Johnson last year had 107 receptions. That gave him 5th in the NFL. 1,161 yards. That gave him 10th in the NFL. And 8 touchdowns. That's top 16. So all his numbers last year for Deontay Johnson were top 20 in the league. While Chase Claypool was in the top 50s and 90s in the league and 35th. So to proclaim yourself as a top 3 receiver when you haven't done much in the league, this is going into your 3rd season, I don't think you really should be talking. Now, granted, they drafted another receiver in George Pickens from Georgia, who I think is going to be a dog. Potentially, you could see him even potentially replace Claypool if he's not able to have a better season next year. Now, coming out of Notre Dame, Claypool was a great prospect. he really did a lot for that team, kept them competitive, allowed them to have that college football playoff berth, stuff like that. But to say you're a number 3 receiver in the NFL when there's so much talent like Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, DeAndre Hopkins, I can keep going. T. Higgins. There's a lot of receivers in the league that are really good. And for you to proclaim yourself as a top 3, you're not even the best receiver on your team. And of course, maybe he, is using this, as confidence and motivation for himself to get there. That is probably one of his goals. Obviously, he's no scrub. He's in the NFL for a reason. But again, it's more than just talking. You have to go out there on the field. You have to go do it. You have to be one of the top prospects. Now, Ben Roethlisberger was towards the latter prime of his career. That probably had a lot to do with it. And they made the playoffs last year and they went out in the first round, but probably him not have as many targets. But the same receiver, Deontay Johnson, had over 100 yards and 1,000 yards receiving, and Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback. So you can't really use that as an excuse. So we're going to see this year what steps he can take. He will probably have a better quarterback right now, probably be Mitch Trubisky. We'll see how short that leash is on him and when they're going to start Kenny Pickett. So in my opinion, I think it's just too early to proclaim that. And I think he's going to have to put a lot of work in the offseason. I hope he did, as training camp is upon us. We're almost at the end of June, and training camp will be beginning in mid to late July. So we'll see what steps he takes forward this season. But to proclaim yourself or think you're top 3 receiver, number says otherwise, and on field says otherwise as well. But I'll leave it there. Next, we got last topic for NFL. We got OBJ, who's set to return according to multiple reports late October to early November. He is a great receiver. He probably would have won Super Bowl MVP if he didn't go down and get hurt in that game. It was a non-contact injury towards ACL. I'm just hoping the best for OBJ. OBJ is a great player. He's great for your locker room. He's a very emotional guy. He loves the game, and I hope he doesn't retire. I'm glad he got a Super Bowl ring. That was great. But 2 destinations I think he should potentially try. I think one should be the Los Angeles Rams, of course. I would stay in LA. You already have a home in LA. They have a great quarterback in Matt Stafford, just won a Super Bowl. You still got Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, and he would be great in that slot. He'd be a great third receiver there. And they already have pretty much a Super Bowl winning roster. Jalen Ramsey's there, Bobby Wagner, Aaron Donald. I can go on and on and on. I think that would be a great move if he's able to stay there. Possibly sign a 2-year or maybe even a 3-year deal potentially. But another team that's been kind of floating around after one of his posts was Joe Burrow. He commented on the post and said, the one. And I definitely think Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks right now in the game. Definitely would give him top 10 right now. I would take him over most quarterbacks in the league. And in my opinion, I think he's top 5. That's just me. Call me biased. I'm a Bengals fan, always have been. But I think matching him up with them, I know everybody's like, oh, well, he'll probably be, wide receiver 4 potentially, which is true. He would be wide receiver 4, but he could add a lot of diversity to our offense. We do have a nice possession and 50-50 ball receiver in T. Higgins. Then we also got Jamar Chase, who's the downfield deep threat, but he can also take a slant to the crib, to the apartments, to the house. You know what I'm saying? And we have a great slot receiver who's underrated in his own right, and Tyler Boyd, who's also a great receiver. But if you add, OBJ in there, he can just do a myriad of things. We added Hayden Hurst in the offseason. But what OBJ can really add is can add that more explosiveness, I think. I know Chase already has that, but what Chase is going to see a lot of this year, he's going to see a lot of cover 2, 2-man deep. You're going to see, teams basically giving us the short routes. You're probably going to see less deep route ability. But what OBJ can do is he can do the grunt work. He can go in there. He can do the same still, even with his injury. He can still take probably a 3-4 yard pass to the house as well, or take it for a 30-40 yard gain. That's not without the realm of possibility for him. So I think he just adds another component. You can use him in different ways. You can use him in motion. You can use him in a slot. You can use him on outside boundary. You can use him in different ways, running the ball. It's just a bunch of ways you could use OBJ. And I think it would just add another element to the offense, really make us even more explosive, especially with the retool offensive line. And I think that now from a glamour perspective, it's probably not like the most glamorous, move. And I just mean like for OBJ, like far as being in Cincinnati, it's not a lot to do. LA, stars, lights, it's a lot to do in LA, stuff like that. But, being in Cincinnati, you have one of the best young quarterbacks in the game, definitely right now. a quarterback that wants to get better, a leader, doesn't have all that nonsense and goes in and plays and knows the game really well. So, I mean, to add that, I think is going to say a lot, especially to what OBJ can do and how he's going to be able to perform. So, I think that's where OBJ should go. I think that's where he should land. I think that would be great for him and his career. And, that's going to conclude our NFL section for today. And our NCAA section for today. And let's get into some NBA Finals. I got some recap. I got some last thoughts. I got Kyrie Irving that he made his free agency. And I got my top 10 NBA players all time. And a budding Memphis versus Golden State beef and rivalry that's heating up. So let's go and get to NBA Finals recap. So we know that the Golden State Warriors, who I predicted would win, I had them in 7, but they won in 6, handled their business. They won that series 4-2. And, I wasn't really surprised. Steph Curry, really, to me, he cemented his legacy. He showed us why he's one of the top 10 all time. I have him currently number 9. I'm going to reveal my list in a little bit. But I have him number 9 right now in the top 10 players of all time, and I'll tell you why. In that series, a lot of questions were always Curry. Could he win a Finals MVP? Can he be the best player on a championship team? And he did that. If you go back and look at the stat line, he had 34, 7, and 7. A lot of the attention was on him. He was blitzed, double-teamed, and a lot of the time it took over. Now, this series really changed in Game 4. Now you're thinking, how did this series change? Game 4, Boston had, I believe, a double-digit lead going into the 4th. The Warriors were struggling, of course, wasn't really getting any help. In that game, Curry had 43 points. Now, of course, I got to give Wiggins credit. He had 17 points in that game, 16 rebounds. Really, some of those offensive rebounds he had early in that quarter when they were trailing were pivotal. And he really made a profound impact on his team. Without those boards, they probably lose that game. But it was a turning point because everybody was like, well, Curry can't perform in the clutch, and he doesn't do things in the clutch. He also did hit a game winner this year as well. Can't forget that in the regular season. But basically, one play, he was doubled, and he threw it to Clay. They were down, I think, 2. Clay hits the 3, puts them up 1. You got some analyst says, oh, yeah, Clay basically won the game because he put them up 1. There was still 4 minutes to play. There was no scoring up until about a minute and some change left. Curry hits the floater, gets past Derek White, hits the floater, boom, puts him up 3. Then he comes back next possession, getting blitzed again, makes his move, hits the 3 over Derek White, and puts him up 6. Pretty much all but sealing the game. Now, minute 43, without his critical shots in this game, they don't win. They don't win. So he really stepped up, and he's one of the only players in NBA Finals history to average 30 in multiple finals. That puts him up there with MJ, and it's like another player. I believe it's LeBron, but don't quote me on that. But that puts him up there. So he really made the difference. And his second best player in the series was Andrew Wiggins, who everybody said a bust, was a terrible pickup for them, and he really performed. He was great defensively. He scored in Game 5, which was crucial when Curry was struggling, 7 for 22, 0 for 9 from 3. Wiggins had 26 in that game and 13 boards, and I think he was very efficient shooting-wise. I think he shot over 50%. He really made a difference in that series. And Clay, he had his Game 3 moment, 25 points. But even in Game 6 when they won and took it home, I got to give credit to Jordan Poole. He helped illustrate when Curry was on the bench that 21-0 run. Now, the Celtics went up big in that game. They were up like 14-2. And you were just thinking like, okay, this is the first punch, cool. But Golden State's a resilient team. So you were just thinking like, oh, this is far from over. And then when they went on that run, you could just see like the building, and you could just see like how the crowd was and how like Boston was almost defeated in that sense. And it was like, oh, what are we going to do? And like the game really shifted. Now, of course, Boston made some runs and cut it close to within 8. But once they got blitzed for a 21-0 run early in the first half, it wasn't even in the third quarter, which, Golden State is prominent for. This was in the first half, the first quarter almost, bleeding into the second quarter. So, I mean, again, to win a chip, it's not just one player. It's everybody. Got to shout out, Andrew Wiggins. Clay had some moments in this series. Draymond stepped up, gave the energy, the effort, the leadership in the last game. Nearly had a triple-double, only 2 assists shy. So I got to give him credit. I will say this about Draymond. He did not have a good series. But when his team needs him and it's like a closeout game, he handles his business. That can't be understated. He really took up the level of play. He was rebounding the basketball, pushing the ball. Again, I would like for him to get a somewhat decent shot, but, he's not really known as being a scorer. And then you go in this team and they're going to add James Wiseman, Jonathan Kuminga, who's only going to get better. Moses Moody is there. This is a team that can contend for some years to come. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say they repeat next year, but because like I said, when it comes to NBA and it comes to any sport, you need a little bit of luck, man. Like, you need a little bit of things to go your way. And I get so sick of the notion that injuries played a factor. Yeah, I mean, health is a factor in it. You cannot predict or you cannot do anything with injuries. Like, they're going to happen. So you got to be prepared and ready to pounce on it. That's what you got to be ready to do. So for me, Curry cemented his legacy as one of the best to ever do it. No question about it. There's nothing left anybody can say. There's nothing. He led his team. He didn't really have much help in Game 6, 34. Clay was 5 for 20 for 12 points. I think Wiggins had 18 points for 7 for 18. I think Poole had about 15. It was only one game in that series you could say that Curry was not the best player on the court. And that was Game 5 when he didn't shoot the ball well, but he was doing other stuff well. And I always throw this on for players that aspire to be in the NBA. It's more than just scoring. You have to be selfless. Everybody's so into themselves and, I got to get my stats and I got to get this. No. When you're a selfless superstar, it makes a difference. And it's going to lead into the topic in a minute a little bit about Kyrie Irving. But when you're selfless and you care more about the team than your own personal agenda or your own personal things, it makes a difference. Like Curry winning, he bulked up. I'm not saying he's not an all-world defender. He's not an all-NBA type defender. But what he will give you is effort. And that's what I proclaim for all of the players, especially when I come for James Harden. Give me something else. You don't got to be Houston James Harden. You don't got to give me 30, 40 points or 25. You can give me 20 piece, 15. Just find other ways to affect the game. Defensively, actually give me some effort. Give me some effort on the boards. Help me get other players going. Give me that leadership. That's what I always proclaim. It's not all about scoring. It's about what impact you're going to have on your team to help them and facilitate winning. And that's what you see what Draymond does. He's not a scorer, but he does other things well. Gary Payton II, he's not a scorer, but he plays defense. He rebounds. He hits shots when it's thrown to him. He tries to go and guard the best players on the opposite team. That makes a difference. So, for anybody that has to say anything about Steph Curry at this point, you're a hater. It got to be said, you're a hater. There's nothing left you can say. He won unanimous Finals MVP. He won unanimous MVPs. He's won 2 MVPs. He's won 4 titles. I think he's an 8-time All-NBA player. He's won an All-Star MVP. And even this year, he even graduated from college. There's nothing left you can say. He's an all-time great. Changed the game. Revolutionized the game. Games played totally different. You see more teams take threes now than ever before. It's because of him. So give the man his respect. Give him his due. And I concluded with that on Golden State. As far as Boston, it's tough, man. I know what Boston fans are going through. As you guys all see, I am a Cincinnati Bengals fan. And that Super Bowl loss was tough. I felt we were really close, and I feel like we could have won. Again, our offensive line, basically, did it in for us. But we were a young team. Our core is young. We had some veterans on there. But the core players, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, they're young. So I know the feeling. And, for Tatum, a lot are going to come for him. And he only had 2 points in the second half. But this is his first real moment on this stage. This is his first real moment. And what I'm going to say is he's a star. I think as, even analysts or people that love the game, we throw out the superstar term so easily. That has to be earned, man. And I think he was budding into the superstar category. I mean, sweeping the Nets and KD, beating the Bucks. Of course, they didn't have Chris Middleton, but beating the Bucks, beating the Miami Heat. He was trending in that category, trending in that territory. But I wouldn't say he's a superstar. And we got to stop these Kobe comparisons. We tried to compare Devin Booker to Kobe. We tried to compare Jason Tatum to Kobe. Not everybody's Kobe. Kobe is an all-time great. He's top 5 on my all-time list. We got to stop with the Kobe comparisons, man. He's one of the best to ever do it. He had a Mamba mentality, a dog mentality. He didn't care if he was missing shots. He was going to go take them. He didn't care what defense was thrown at him. He was going to take the shot. That was his game. He emulated it after Michael Jordan. That's what he did. So let the players be their own players without the compare. Like, you compare them in different ways, but you're comparing somebody to an all-time great. Allowing them to get a little bit of hardware first, like an MVP. And I know Tatum had all first team All-NBA, and shout out to him. He earned it. But we got to stop with the Kobe comparisons. Now, I still think Tatum would be a great player. He's only 24 years old. And everybody's coming for his neck. But that's what the finals does, though. It puts you on a microscope, and they're just looking for any little thing to nick and pick. And that's how it really goes. It sucks, but that's what it is. And, Jaylen Brown, he had his moments in this series. I think he's their closer on the team. I think unequivocally you put the ball in Jaylen Brown's hands at the end of the game, and he's going to cook you for a bucket. Now, he got to work on his handle some because he was turning the ball over way too much. Both of them were. I think Jason Tatum had the most turnovers in NBA history in this postseason run, which, of course, that's not a good thing. But they can get better. That's the upside for Boston. These guys can get better. And Marcus Smart is a great defensive player, but I don't know if he should be running the show. And they got to find another offensive way. It can't just be iso ball and then defense collapses on you and then you try to throw it out to open player. It has to be more fluidity. It has to be more easy shots. And that's what they were getting in the first couple of series. Granted, they were tough, but I just vividly remember, of course, it was a breakdown defense, but Jason Tatum, game winner, layup. It was an easy bucket. But I think people slept on Golden State's defense. Remember, this is a top-notch defensive team in the league. Everybody sleeps on that. They're going to come for this is a pretty good defensive team. So let's not forget about that. They play good defense. But Tatum and Brown, they'll be better. Boston will be back. If it's not next year, they'll be back in a couple seasons. They got the team to do it. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Al Horford. But look what you got, Boston. You got Rob Williams, who's a great rim-protecting big, young. Hopefully he can fully get healthy. But even maybe 70%, 80%, he's blocking shots. It was hard for Golden State to go to the rim. They had to implement the float game. They had to push out on the break, shoot more shots. So Boston has a lot going for itself. It's not a failure, I don't think. You took them to 6. 7 would have been ideal. 7, anything can happen. But it's a tough team. This is a team in Golden State that wanted it, was tired of the criticism, and they took it. But Boston will be back. And potentially they may even have to go get another guard. Maybe you might have to play small. You might have to put Tatum at the 4, Brown at the 3, Marcus Smart at the 2, and go get a point guard. It don't have to be an elite point guard. It could be like a Malcolm Brogdon. Or it can be, another point guard that could just, facilitate and just help open up easy chances for the team. That's really what Boston is missing. They need those easy chances. And if you can set that up, you gotta like it. Your chances. Now, the East will be better next year. Ben Simmons hopefully will be back with the Nets, and we'll see what happens with Kyrie's situation, which I'm about to get into. Milwaukee will be back. Chris Middleton will be there. Miami will be back. We'll see what move they can make. Hopefully they can land another star. They need another star opposite side of Jimmy. I like Bam. I think Bam is better at the 4. But Boston did good, man. They had a rough start to the season. Turned around the first-year head coach, Ime Udoka, and they went to the finals. It's not a failure, man. You should be happy. You know what I'm saying? You'll be back. I think you'll taste a chip before it's said and done. Now, talking about Kyrie. Talks have basically stagnated. Now, on some stuff with Kyrie, I stand with. The vaccine, I don't think you should be forced to get that. I stand by that. That's a personal choice. Now, it might give me some criticism about it, but that's how I feel. That's personal. But I feel like too many players in the NBA treat it as a part-time job. Like, you're making millions of dollars. And I just don't get, you know, I he's very skillful. He's probably one of the best dribblers of the ball ever. You know, and he can cook anybody, any size, tall, muscular, short, athletic, whatever. He can cook. But he's just not on the court enough. And when you're trying to get a championship, you got to be there for your team. You got to be present and you got to be available. And you can't just build chemistry, missing games and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm not going to really come for him because I get the vaccine stuff, But the other stuff, you got to be prepared and focused. You got to really lock in. Because when it comes to a chip, there can be no distractions. And I think that's what Brooklyn is sensing right now. And I think that's what they're thinking about. Like, is this guy going to be available? If we're making a run next season, how we know he's not going to do the same thing or pull something different? And I think that's why you see them kind of hesitant on what they're trying to do. So, if you're Kyrie, I'm going to coach you got your options open. They said some teams might be the Knicks, Lakers, that might be a good trade for them to get them and play on with LeBron again. I was where really he had his most success. And we'll see. A lot of people are coming for KD because, like I said, in a sense, it's almost like, you left Steph Curry to join one of your good buddies in Kyrie Irving. And then you got James Harden to come. James Harden went out and left. And I'm not going to say that I'm not going to disrespect KD and say he can't win as the bus driver on the team or he can't win as the best player. Unequivocally, he can do that. But he needed his other teammates to be there and present and ready to ball, ready to hoop. That's the biggest thing. KD can do it. He just needs the other people around him to step up. Nobody can do it alone, man. You always need another star. And Kyrie Irving is equivalently a superstar. But he needs him available in there. And he needs everybody to buy in. And KD just put his foot down on some stuff. Like, hey, bro, we're trying to win a chip. I can't allow you to do that. Hey, we're trying to do this. I can't allow you to do that. So, for Kyrie, hopefully next year, he's able to be in there. That vaccine mandate was lifted. And hopefully he's ready to be there and present. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully he can just ball out. That's the biggest thing for Kyrie. We know what he can do on the court. It's just you got to limit the distractions. So we'll see, man. Like I said, free agency is around the corner. The draft is actually this coming week. Today is Tuesday. Draft is actually Thursday. So we'll see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Hopefully, he get his money, but you got to be ready and present and ready to play, man. And that's the biggest thing. Now, as far as my top 10 list, guys, this is a good list, I think. Top 10 all time. 1, MJ. 6-0 in the finals. Superstar. Helped carry his team. Had Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. Couldn't stop the man. Of course, he had his bumps and bruises. A couple times he lost, early. Not in the finals, but, prior to that in the Tough Eastern Conference. You know what I'm saying? To the Pistons and other teams. But what did Jordan do in the offseason? He bulked up, got prepared. He's unequivocally the best player of all time. 2, I'll put LeBron, the best all-around player of all time. Can score, handle the rock, 6'8", 250, 260. Stays in shape, stays ready. He's older. He's 37. He'll be 38 at the end of the season. Or 38 at the end of December this year. But LeBron makes his team better, And he's taken teams that shouldn't have been in the finals to the finals. One of those would be the Cavs multiple times. One year, I think he had Kyle Korver. I think he had J.R. Smith. And he had George Hill. Basically, these guys are out of their primes. Took them to the finals. Now we knew they didn't have no chance going against Golden State. But he still took them there. And they had a chance. You know what I'm saying? In that game 1. I think game 1 really solidified. And that's the me moment everybody talks about with J.R. Smith and him. And, basically a little time left, not taking the time out and not trying to score. That really changed the game. But LeBron had a 50-piece and a triple-double in that game. So unequivocally, he makes his team better. And he took a team when he was young, and I think it was 06, but it was against the Spurs. They got swept, of course. But took a team when Drew Gooden, Eric Snow, Zydrunas Ilgauskas to the finals. They didn't have no business being there. Still took them. So unequivocally, it's number 2 all time. 3, Magic. hey man, 6'8", could play guard, pass. I think he won 5 rings. All right, y'all, we back. Sorry about that. But yes, so Magic, number 3, obviously reasons. Showtime Lakers, won, MVP trophies, won Finals MVP, 6'8", could pass, played the center. She did a lot of stuff well, man. Magic was probably one of the best to do it as well. So I put Magic number 3. That's just me. 4 is Kareem, had the unstoppable hook shot. You probably don't see it as prevalent now in the NBA's game, in the more modern game, but he really made a difference, man. And he stepped up in a lot of ways for the Lakers franchise, and he was one of the best, players of his era. And that's why I got Kareem 4. Now 5 is Kobe. I'm a grown up watching Kobe. I remember, 10 finals where he won against the Boston team that was, pretty much favored to win. He didn't have another superstar. He was the superstar. He did have Derek Fisher, Paul Gasol, Lamar Odom, stuff like that. But, Kobe won 2 without Shaq, and everybody said he couldn't, and he did. So you got to give Kobe his credit, man. Kobe was a unequivocally superstar, took the game serious. That's why you hear Mamba mentality. But like I said earlier, you cannot compare everybody to Kobe. Kobe is just a different breed. Kobe does things differently. Kobe values things differently in today's game. And you can say it was selfish or whatever, but hey, man, Kobe was going to put it all on the line for his team to win, unequivocally. 6, you got to put Shaq, man. Why I say Shaq at 6? Shaq was the most dominant big probably ever. Unstoppable force, helped illustrate that three-peat. Won a trophy without Kobe, of course. Won in Miami with D. Wade. But for Shaq, he was the most dominant big, you could probably say ever, argue ever. And really, man, nobody had answers for him. You know what I'm saying? Anybody in the NBA nowadays, of course, it's a more modern game, he probably would destroy, especially in his prime. And he couldn't win with Penny Hardaway, who was very nice, great player. Unfortunately, succumbed to injuries that kind of, ruined his career. But for the most part, I would say that Shaq, for me, is number 6. 7 would be Larry Bird. Man, he was going against Jordan. He was in that Eastern Conference going against him. And, he was able to, host some trophies. He's one of the best players, ever to play as well. Great shooting ability. He was just one of those players, you know what I'm saying, you just didn't have an answer for. He always had a way to outthink you, out-strategize you, outplay you. You know what I'm saying? Fundamental guy, could really shoot the ball well, and always lifted his team in big moments. So that's why I got Bird at 7. 8 is Wilt. Of course, I didn't see Wilt play. But just looking at the highlights, rumored to have a 100-point game. I mean, and you can make the argument he didn't play against the talent that you see right now in the NBA. Unequivocally, he didn't. But he dominated his era, and that's the biggest thing I think you see with these guys. Who really dominated their eras? He was one. He averaged 50 one year in the NBA, playing 80 games. So, I think that says a lot. And in the other years, he never averaged, I think, below 33 or 34 points a game per season. So, of course, he never won a title or a ring, but he was one of the most dominant players in his era in the NBA. I think he was along in that same era with Bill Russell. Then for me, I got to put 9. I got to put Steph. They might be thinking, why did I put Steph above other players like Bill Russell and Tim Duncan and others? Steph has won 4 titles, won 2-time MVP, a unanimous MVP, first time that ever happened in history. A Finals MVP now to his credit, won 2 scoring titles, first team All-NBA 8 times, revolutionized the game. The game is played a lot different now because of him. He is one of the reasons why the game is played this way it is currently today. And you see more people shooting threes and coming across half court and just launching. Steph has a lot to do with that. And you can really see the impact he's having on the young kids and the kids growing up today of the game. What I do hope that kids take away, though, is that he's a selfless superstar. He took a backseat to KD when he joined and let him be the best player on the team. Now, of course, Steph didn't take a precipitous drop-off. He wasn't averaging less than 20 a game. He's averaging like 26, 25. See what he's averaging now. But he allowed KD to flourish. And and we see now he could be the best player, or he could be the best player on a championship team. He just proved it. He didn't have a lot of, Clay stepped up playing defense. Andrew Wiggins stepped up. Poole stepped up. Draymond stepped up. Gary Payton stepped up. But for the most part, he was their only consistent, offensive threat. Unequivocally, he was the only consistent offensive threat on that team. And he was getting doubled, blitzed, Multiple guys thrown at him, different bodies, and he still balled out. Only had one game where he pretty much underperformed. And he just didn't have it going that night. But others around him stepped up. Number 9 in my book. And at 10, I put Tim Duncan. Mr. Fundamental had a lot to say in their era. One of the reasons why they won those 5 rings along with him, Tony Parker, and Manu Ginobili. I would say unequivocally he's probably the best power forward of all time. He just played the game well, did all the things right that he was supposed to do. And, that's why they was able to win those rings. He wasn't a flashy guy. He just came into work, did what he needed to do, and he balled out. And he was really hard to stop, man, at his height. And that's why I got to put Tim Duncan 10. I'll probably put Bill Russell like 11. Again, y'all, I know he was won 11 rings. I didn't really see the man play. For me, you could say recency bias, but I checked the highlights. I mean, if you see the era he was playing in and the superstars of that era, I give him like top 11, top maybe 15. But for me, I can't put him in my top 10. But this is my top 10. You guys comment below how you have it ranked and where you will put your own top 10. And last but not least, to conclude the NBA section of the show today, we have Memphis versus the Golden State beef and rivalry. So this is actually interesting. We still had some tweets. Jaren Jackson on March 29th said strength in numbers after they blew out Golden State. Clay followed that up after them winning the chip and, called him pretty much a bum. Saying how can you say that when nobody played and, a lot of people were injured. And what's so interesting about this is, one, I love it because I like rivalries in the NBA. Too much of the time we see guys like that or, like this close and stuff like that, which is all cool. Camaraderie's cool and stuff like that. But you don't get those old school fashion rivals like we used to see back in the day between like the Pistons and the Bulls, or between the Celtics and the Lakers. Like those were great rivalries. And I love rivalries, especially. It makes it entertaining, it makes it fun. It's going to be that physical element. It's going to be that I'm going to put it all on the line because I hate those guys on the other side. You love that as a fan. You love that even as a player. So to see this, Memphis is a young team. Unequivocally, they're a young team. Do I think they should be talking? No. The only player I think has room to talk because he is budding into a superstar. He's a star right now. Is John Morant. But they haven't done nothing yet. They did beat Golden State the year before in the play-in tournament, but it was just Steph and Dre. And Dre, missed that, that layup, which would have pretty much sealed the victory for them. But they just played this year. And I know a lot of Memphis fans were thinking, we could beat them. Ja got hurt. We beat them by 55, or we beat them by a large margin. We was leading by 55, beat them by 40 plus, whatever. And game 5, if he was there, we would have definitely won. It's up for debate. What's cool is next year you'll have a chance to do that again. But the West is bringing back a lot of teams, a lot of players. Got Kawhi Leonard should be back next year, along with Paul George and the Clippers. They got a nice little roster with Reggie Jackson, Norman Powell, Ivica Zubac. You got the Nuggets, 2-time MVP in Nikola Jokic. Jamal Murray should be back. Michael Porter Jr. should be back. Got Golden State, just won the championship. They're probably going to get better. James Wiseman should be able to play next year. Jonathan Kuminga should get better. Moses Moody should get better. Let's see if Jordan Poole can take the next step in his decision to start him. They'll be back there. You got Minnesota. That's the team to think about. It's the team you face in the first round. Anthony Edwards, you see, he's already in the gym. He's working. That's another player you got to keep your eye on. Carlton Towns, I think, should get better as well. We'll see what they do with D'Angelo Russell in the offseason. But that's a team. Dallas. Can't sleep on Dallas. Dallas just traded for Christian Wood. They should be a better team next year. They did trade away Boban Marjanovic, but they weren't playing them. So Dallas should be better next season. Phoenix will still be there, I think. Now, their rollback to the ship into the finals is going to be definitely difficult. That's the thing. Last year, that was their best chance, especially for CP3, to win the title. Now, we got to see what happens because it doesn't look like Ayton's going to stay. Pretty much, Ayton's a free agent, so he's probably going to sign elsewhere. That's where it's more leaning toward, especially with the animosity between him and Monty Williams and the coach. So, I still think Phoenix is a team to think about. We'll see what happens with Portland. Just a lot of teams in there. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll see next year. But to say that their era is coming to an end, this looks like this is a team for Golden State that could win some more chips, man. And what's so good about their team is, one, they're selfless. Two, they sacrifice for each other. And three, they have some young budding pieces that can really make a difference. And four, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson game is not predicated on athleticism. It's predicated on sniper ability, shooting the ball well. I think with another year to get some legs under him, Klay should perform better. And you could really make the argument he didn't really lose a step defensively. That was the biggest test for me, especially in these finals. Like, could he still guard? And he was still guarding Jaylen Brown to an effective level. He was guarding, switching on Tatum and guarding at an effective level. That says a lot. You know, when I was coming from critiquing Klay, was shooting. He's one of the best shooters ever. Top 5. So I think next year he will only be better. You know, so again, I think for the NBA, as far as a marketability standpoint, you got to make this game a Christmas game in Golden State. You know, and you got to televise when these teams play each other because it's just too good. You know, like I said, you haven't had many big rivalries in the NBA for a long time. We're really waiting on one. I mean, can you say the Warriors Cavs was one? Maybe, but Golden State won like 2 of those chips, three of those chips out of 4. You know, LeBron took one, which was probably the most iconic one in his career when they were down 3-1. But for the most part, we haven't had many big rivals in the NBA. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully we get some more. But that's my thoughts on the beef. And we'll see if Memphis can follow up another great season that they had last year. Just being a 2 seed is good. It's a good stepping point for them. But it's about what you do in the postseason. Of course, Ja was hurt. I hope he stays healthy. And I hope their team around him stays healthy. And I want to see what they can do next season. Because you can get a 1 seed, as you've seen in Phoenix, and you can lose Game 7 and get blown out by Dallas. So the seeding is important to a degree, but at the same time, you can still lose that Game 7 at home. You know what I'm saying? You can still be a 2 seed and lose. So what you going to do in the postseason? That's where legacies are made. That's where superstars come out. So let's see what they do next season. All right, y'all. So that's going to conclude the NBA section. Last section for the day, got some soccer. Raheem Sterling is rumored to want out of Man City and is actually rumored to want to go to Chelsea. So for one, I'm very happy about this. If you guys don't know, I am a Chelsea fan. We had a decently good season last year. We won a couple cups, European trophies. We finished top 4. I think we finished top 3. And the UFA, the UCL for next season. So we'll be in that tournament, which is, you know, where a lot of the best European teams kind of grade themselves outside of the, you know, domestic leagues they play in. And I'm looking forward to what we can see at the 4th position. I think, you know, I was talking to my buddy Alex. I think we overpaid for Lukaku. I paid him $124 million to come on. Now, I wish the best for him. I hope he's able to go to a team that can use his services. And we'll see. Hopefully we can keep Pulisic as well. I do like him as another piece in our rotation and another piece in our striking capabilities. But if we can land Sterling, who's only 27, right in the prime of his career, just played at Man City, that would be a good move. So I'm hoping for us we can land him because a lot of the times, man, we lost twice to Liverpool in 2 different European Cups, and we didn't score a goal. I mean, of course, neither did they, and we lost in penalties. But if we can do better with getting more goals, setting up more chances and opportunities, and finishing with shots on target, I like our chances next year. You know, we got to make some moves to strengthen the team. Antonio Rudiger left for Real Madrid. We got to see what happens with Lukaku and Pulisic. But if you can land Sterling and he wants out, and you can get him for a good price, then you got to go get him. You know, we got to strengthen that up next season. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited. I hope we land him. I think it'd be a good move for us overall. Now, another move that just happened is Sebastian Haller actually is going to be signed as Haaland's replacement for Dortmund. I know he's going to go Dortmund. Haaland just signed with Man City for about, I think, $60 million. And he's going to that side. Not happy for him because his dad also played for that same team in Man City. And, you know, that's where he basically got to start him from was Dortmund. So, basically, Sebastian Haller, it's a deal from Ajax worth around $36 million. So, actually a cheaper option for them. Sources told ESPN. He joins, like I said, after a $60 million move from Haaland to go to Man City. And he had a really great spell, 18-month spell at Ajax. You know, he had a disappointing period with West Ham in January 2021. But he had 13 goals in 23 matches during his first year in Amsterdam, and before he reached new heights. And his last term, he had 21 goals, and netting 11 in 8 Champions League matches. So, I mean, for Dortmund, you're not going to have the same maybe scoring ability as Haller can give you, but you'll still be competitive. This is a nice, cheaper option for your team. And I think he's going to still help you compete. You know what I'm saying? For UCL, he's going to help you compete for domestic league titles in the Bundesliga. So you have to like being able to get a cheaper option, and we'll see how he can perform stepping in for now being replaced for Erling Haaland. But I think it's a good move, and I think it's a cheaper option, and you save some money. And you still got about 24 mil you can use, and you can beef up that midfield, and you can beef up that defending as well. And yeah, guys, that's what we conclude this for today. That's all I got. Comment below your top 10 all time. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Like I said, we're going to have an episode every single week now going forward. Probably going to do this every Tuesday. Get up there on YouTube, get up there on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the goods and works. If you guys ever want to join, make sure you follow my social media at Najee Wilk, on Twitter at Najee Wilk as well. I tweet, talk about sports and all that good stuff. Probably now with the season ending in the NBA, going to talk a little bit more about baseball, trying to get into that, and a little bit about MLS, and of course some of the little transfer rumors and updates in soccer before Premier League and La Liga and Bundesliga and all that turns back around in a few short months. And of course NFL stuff and NBA, different free agency moves. I'll be keeping you guys updated. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next one. Appreciate it. We out. Peace.